What's going on, Mountaineer Nation? Welcome back to the Country Roads Webcast. As always, I'm Jordan Cruz. If you're tuning in here on YouTube or Twitch, I'm live on both on the Country Roads Webcast pages there. Appreciate you tuning in. But even if you're tuning in on the playback, really appreciate you doing that as well. And while you're in here, if you would hit that like button for us, that'll really help this video's performance and help future videos performances as well. And hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. Helps us, helps you, helps get more of this Mountaineer football content out to Mountaineer Nation. Having said that, let's get into it a little bit here with the top graded players for the West Virginia Mountaineers in Game 6 against the Baylor Bears. Let's go here. Number 5, we have free safety Aubry Burks, who I think is no surprise showing up here with the performance that he had, getting an interception, forcing a fumble. I think he was around the ball a lot, making plays. So no surprise he ends up as one of the top 5 highest graded players for West Virginia on PFF here in week 7 of the season, game 6 for the Mountaineers. And I think the most surprising thing you'll see here on this top 5 graded players for the defense is no defensive linemen in the top 5 highest graded players. I think Jordan Jefferson was 6th highest graded. Dante Stills was 8th, so they were still up there. But this is, I think, the first time all season there hasn't been at least one defensive lineman. And I know that's definitely shocking with how Baylor's passing numbers were up and, how the Mountaineer secondary has struggled. But I digress and move on here to the 4th highest graded Mountaineer against the Baylor Bears, and that was Jasir Cox playing that spear position for the Mountaineers. Also, probably, one that you could expect to be on here. 2 fumble recoveries, including one that he picked up and ran all the way back, showed his athleticism, showed his speed for the touchdown, and what was one of the game-changing plays there, really, in this game against Baylor. And then at number 3, we had free safety at number 5 with Aubrey Burks. At number 3, we have the Mountaineers' other free safety. The two kind of splitting time there, splitting snaps. And that's Hershey McLaurin, the JUCO transfer, coming out with a 70.1 defensive grade in this game against Baylor. And, he was making plays as well. I liked him in the run game coming up, making some tough hits. Looks like he's a good tackler, and he's long. I think he's 6'4", 6'5", if I'm not mistaken. So him and Aubrey Burks both bringing something to the table there at the safety position, and hopefully we're just seeing these guys maybe hit their stride now that we're midseason. Both guys are kind of newer to the program. Aubrey Burks, of course, has been here, but he's still young, being only a redshirt freshman or a sophomore, and having dealt with injury bug a little bit since the early this season. I believe he suffered that in the Pitt game, if I'm not mistaken. And then of course Hershey McLaurin, completely new to the program as a JUCO transfer, didn't get here till the summer, but both have seemed to be making more plays the further we get along in this season, and both pop up here on the top 5 highest defensive graded players. Number 2 for the Mountaineers, defensive end Sean Martin. So I just completely was wrong about there not being a defensive lineman on this list when I said that earlier. I completely neglected that Sean Martin was here at number 2. But I guess what I should have said was the familiar faces that have been on here, that being Jordan Jefferson and Dante Stills, weren't in the top 5 highest graded defensive players here, as they were both just outside. As I said, Jordan Jefferson the 6th and Dante Stills 8th. But Sean Martin is the lone defensive lineman that does make an appearance this week for the Mountaineers, and in the game against Baylor, he grades out as a 71.2 defensive grade. And we saw him split time with Taj Alston. I believe Taj Alston actually had more snaps. I think it was 36 to 26 snap count wise. Sean Martin getting the 26 snaps there. If you haven't checked out the new series I started, the snap counts video, check that out to be 100% off the top of my head. I think that's what it was, though. But Sean Martin did make an impact on the plays that he was in, pressure in the passer and some good plays there in run defense. But the one that stands out, of course, is forcing the fumble that Jasir Cox returned for the touchdown, as Blake Shapen, when he was still in the game for the Baylor Bears, escaped containment. Sean Martin smacked his arm, forced the fumble. Jasir Cox picked it up and did the rest. And Sean Martin shows up as the 2nd highest grade defensive player for the Mountaineers with a 71.2 grade. And number 1 might surprise you as well, and that's another player in the secondary, as it is one of the corners for the Mountaineers, and that is Rashad Ajayi, the transfer from Colorado State, coming out with a 74.2 defensive grade here in the game against Baylor to be the top graded Mountaineer on defense in this one. And I know that's probably surprising with the secondary struggles and how the Mountaineer pass defense struggled, but I think if you look at it, a lot of the times he wasn't covering the man that they were targeting, which was Gavin Holmes a lot. They were going to that other side after Wesley McCormick went down. I think, 7 plays into the game, I believe he had 7 total snaps. And after he went down, they kind of were targeting whoever was in there, which, was Wilson Lamp at times. And then Jacoby Spells, a lot of the game we saw Jacoby Spells, take his lumps in this game, get beat a couple of times. But the other side, I guess Rashad Ajayi really progressing well. The same thing can be said for the other safeties I mentioned. Rashad Ajayi new to the program as well and continues to progress, and I think is really starting to maybe hit his stride as well. He has been the one consistent player the Mountaineers have had since Charles Woods went down. I guess you could say Wesley McCormick, I know, has taken a lot of flack. Jacoby Spells, I think, has a bright future, but of course that's a true freshman. And then Andrew Wilson-Lamp, we've rarely seen. And then this game he gets the targeting, of course, ejected and will be out for the first half against Texas Tech. Mumu, they were trying to play more at safety. Maybe we'll have to see him more at corner. And then Malachi Ruffin, when we've seen him have to play corner, he's struggled a little bit as well. So I guess out of what West Virginia has had, Rashad Ajayi has certainly been the best until Charles Woods can get back on the field. And that shows up again in this game against Baylor as he's actually the top graded player on defense with a 74.2 defensive grade. Having said that, appreciate you guys tuning into this one. As always, I'm Jordan Cruz. And until next time, let's go.
If you really want to know, then come on, let's go. Take a stroll down those